Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and welcome to another episode of the DGA podcast. With me is my co-host...
Oh, am I supposed to... Sorry. Okay,
Who are you?
Idly.
Who are you? Who are you?
Yes, your name is Ida Lee. Very good.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Who
I
are
can't do
you?
an impression. Yes.
And I have a special guest with me today. Who are you?
Good question. Who am I?
Who are you?
I wrote it down. Hold on. My
Who is
name
your daddy, and what does he do?
You have to introduce his dad now.
What?
He's our dad. Actually, I am Vince's brother, aka I go by the name White Knight on his Twitch stream. If you guys probably see me on there. So.
Yep, so that's White Knight, Dave, however you want to call him. Yeah. So, yeah, we brought him on board today because we have a top 5, and I have no knowledge of the subject material. He is our expert witness. He is the guy that has tried to get me into these games on a regular basis, and I know I'm a terrible brother. I just don't
You're
get
not
into
having it.
I'm like, no, I tried. I really tried. I just couldn't do it. So... Top 5 Final Fantasy games. I have not played one. Actually, I take that back. I have played one all the way through. It was called Final Fantasy 1. It was on my mobile phone, and it was like a Dragon Warrior kind of game where I had to. I have 4 party members, and I was going around killing stuff. And there was a bad guy at the end that I had to kill.
I think his name is Chaos.
Possibly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, one thing I really do appreciate about that Final Fantasy, it's kind of like the structure of the whole franchise. I mean, it's very linear, it's very basic, but for something for its time, at that time, think about it, like 1990, like it was early 90s, probably. I think when it came out, I could be wrong. It could probably be even earlier than that. It was so basic, but for its time, it was so unique. It was an adventure. It was a new adventure for. It was probably. I think it was probably came out for like Nintendo or something, if I remember right, the original Nintendo.
Yeah, it was published and developed by Square in 1987. Square being a company that eventually turned into Square Enix.
I was born. How about that?
Yeah, 1987. So it was meant to be. It was meant to be your year of birth and Final Fantasy being first released. So.
Oh, in case if anyone's wondering, that's Shadow and Melodies in the Basket.
Yeah, we featured them on the Animal Talk segment a few times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Yep. You can also send more pictures. It's fine. No, you can send more pictures. My own brother doesn't watch my own. Yeah, I understand. It's fine.
No, I do.
No, I know. I'm kidding.
You don't play the games that he suggests. He doesn't watch your podcast.
I thought you were making like a separate segment for pets or something.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So.
I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I want to see cats.
So I was trying to come up with sound effects for Final Fantasy. Trying to find sound clips for Final Fantasy online was terrible. But I did find this. I don't know too much about this.
Oh no.
But
So
play it again. It's cutting out on our side.
I know. Don't, please. Stop. You're making my top 5 much harder. I gotta rearrange my whole thing now, thanks.
So...
That's like one of the most cringiest moments in Final Fantasy history.
That's what I looked up. I typed in Final Fantasy cringe, and the Titus laugh from Final Fantasy X popped up.
God.
So...
It's such a meme, like...
Okay.
Like, for example, it's like someone actually, if you look up on YouTube, someone made an entire soundtrack to that entire game with nothing but him laughing. It was exactly, yeah. It's just, it's so bad. Like, the first time I saw that scene, it was just like, what the hell heck am I watching? Excuse the language.
It's fine. I should note right out of the gate. This may be more adult than usual.
Well, you can edit it, right? Afterwards,
I will try. I'll edit it. I'll edit every one of his swearing.
Yeah. With
a Titus laugh.
With a laugh, yeah.
We should do. I think it would be better for this one. You're familiar with what a Moogle is?
I
do like a
I do not
It's like
know what a
the-
Moogle is.
It's
Kind
kind
of.
of like a mythical creature in that
Mhm.
game. I would have to put it in layman terms,
Okay.
but it makes like a cuckoo sound, like a
Yeah.
like
Oh.
if you could like dub that sound effect over, I think that'd be perfect for this one.
Have you ever played Monster Hunter World?
I have not, but I played a game similar to that. I forget what it was called though.
They
think Ben-
they featured Final Fantasy
I
items,
gotta play it now.
and a Moogle was one of the companions.
Oh, cool.
It was so cool. I was like, "What is this thing?" And then I had to
Yeah.
research Final Fantasy.
Yeah, the thing that's cool about every Final Fantasy game is that there are similarity. Like each game is different, but there's going to be some similarities in each one.
I actually have a bonus segment that's coming up, and everything that there's a couple of things that you said that were actually part of that next segment. So
Because
you guys are
you guys are
total.
telekinetic.
We are,
you know?
yeah. We have power.
There's also Biggs, Wes, and Jesse. They're also pretty common names in the Final Fantasy series as well. So, I mean, like I
That's
said,
awesome.
you'll notice little things here and there.
Uh-huh.
And I think my favorite thing about the whole Final Fantasy franchises is I think the soundtracks are probably more, like they're more memorable than the actual games itself because the soundtracks actually set the moods for the game and it
Mhm.
adds a dramatic effect to the scene you're watching, or it adds a more hyped scenario to what you were seeing or what you're in battle with. And I really think that because of the soundtrack, Final Fantasy has elevated itself among most RPGs. I'm not saying all the RPGs, but
hmm
when I hear something like a new Final Fantasy game's coming out, I get excited for the soundtrack that's coming out too.
hmm
Yeah.
Like not just the gameplay, not just how the story's gonna be, but the soundtrack, the new music they're gonna introduce to us, and they knock it out of the park every single time. I mean, I
Nice.
can't. Even the games I don't, even the Final Fantasies I don't like that much, have great soundtracks to them.
hmm
Cool.
I have a hard time with Final Fantasy only because there's so many of them and they take so long to play. It's like there's a gazillion Dragon Warrior games, so like I played the first one on the NES when I was a kid, but I never played the subsequent ones because I never had time, or I don't know, like it was just so long. Final Fantasy, I don't know, like it is the same way in the sense that if I had the time to play them, I would, but I have so many games to cover that
Right.
I don't know if I could do them the proper justice and play them solely for a month or however long it takes to finish a Final Fantasy game.
You're looking at anywhere between 30 to 40 hours per game. Easy,
Oh.
just to finish the story, not to do the side stuff. Or
Oh,
anything.
okay. I was
If
gonna
you
ask.
just care about the story and that's what you want to do, if you're one of those people that wants to min max your characters, you can easily spend hundreds of hours maxing your characters. There's no need for it. I mean, if you want that extra challenge, it's there, but it's not mandatory.
Mhm.
You can easily finish the game without min maxing your character. Like
I
without
mean, it helps. I mean, like sometimes it's like impossible to max out your characters. Like, but
Mhm.
there's occasions where I mean, it is possible. Like, it is possible every single time, but like you're talking like a
Mhm.
lot of time, and it's
Mhm.
just like
I bet.
me personally, I never got to that point, but I have made them pretty strong. Where I probably spent about close to 200 to 300 hours on one of my save games. And this was back when I was in high school and had all this extra time. So
Yeah, right.
doing that now, no, I can't do it.
Right. So, all right. So, top 5 Final Fantasy games. This is all you. I don't have any video clips for any of these. Like, typically I would play a video clip while we were talking about it, but I have not covered any of these to put them on the channel. So, it's just going to be all us talking with sound effects. And the other sound effect I have is I found this bad voice acting from the PlayStation Share Final Fantasy. I don't know what this is, but maybe you know.
Hey, guys! I don't believe we've met.
Who are you?
Whoa now! You must be new here if you don't know me. I am
no idea
Nagi,
what this
a
is.
paragon of virtue and hero to boys and girls alike. Charmed, I'm sure.
Yes. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Singing
have
that's
no
too-
Stop
idea.
it, dude. This punk's annoying as hell, yo.
Oh,
That's
no,
Barrett.
don't be like that. Come talk to me if you have
this
any
Final
problems.
Fantasy 7.
This is, it says PS Share Final Fantasy, hold on. It's Type 0, whatever
Hey,
Type 0
guys!
is.
Oh, I've never played that one, honestly.
Okay.
Before I go on and
Uh-huh.
go into my top list, I wanted to share what I have played.
Okay, go ahead.
I haven't played all the Final Fantasies. I just want to let that be that clear. I have played all of them from 1 and 2. I had never played 3 because it was originally released only into Japan, the Japan version.
Okay.
But it was kind of weird how these worked out. I mean, I think for the Super NES, 6 was 3 at one point. It's confusing to try and follow. But
Oh my god.
geez.
yeah. So when I think Final Fantasy 3 was also Final Fantasy 6, but the official Japanese version is out there, and I think they actually did release an English version for it eventually. I just never got into it. But also I've played 4 through 10-2.
Okay.
I have not played 12, 13, or 13-2. I am currently playing 14 like crazy right now, and I've never played 15.
Wow.
So-
my gosh.
So your
that-
list is
I'll-
based off of what you've played, which is typical of how I make my top 5 list. It's I don't want to rate a game or rank it on any sort of list if I've never played it. It just doesn't make
I do plan on playing 12 and 13 and 13-2 eventually, as well as 15. They actually are available on Steam, which is actually a lot of these games I'm mentioning right now are available on Steam, and they usually do go on sale.
Okay.
And if you do find them for like 50 or 75% off, get it. I guarantee you, it's especially during these times and we have to sit at home. These are probably great games to get into.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Humble Bundle and Green Man Gaming, I've got affiliate links for. So if you can find them there first before you buy them on Steam, feel free to do so and help me out. Yeah, quick plug.
My bad.
Hey, you're fine. You're fine. It's totally fine. I just got to throw that out there.
Yeah. Plugins everywhere.
So typically we do a sound effect for every for every entry. So what I did was our guy here. I clipped each one.
We just end this now.
I clipped each one so that for number 5. That's 5. Okay, so he laughed 5 times. So
I'm so glad it cut out.
Oh, okay. I know, right? It cuts out on our end, so we can't really hear all of it.
You guys will hear it when you re-listen to the podcast later. For whatever reason, Discord cuts it off. But yeah, that was.
I'm thanking Discord a lot right now.
What's your number 5 favorite Final Fantasy or top 5 Final Fantasy?
And there's actually, I'm surprised. In Final Fantasy 6 is actually my number 5 choice right now. And this was probably one of the better, I would say, Final Fantasies out there. This one was actually kind of weird. Like, there was a lot of characters. I mean, you had 14 characters to choose from. You can only have 4 in your party at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The story it kind of reminds me of like Star Wars a little bit. I mean, there's a resistance group, there's the Empire. So I mean, it's kind of like your Rebels versus Imperials type storyline, and you learn more and more. But the thing that I liked about this game was, again, it was good for its time. Like, it was the story and everything. The gameplay was fantastic. Actually, I named my cat Shadow after one of the characters. So yeah, there was a character who's a ninja in this game called Shadow. So he was like black. He's all dressed in black and everything. So I saw Shadow up there, like, well, I kind of like that. So
Makes sense.
I named my little buddy back there who's sitting on the windowsill after one of the characters in Final Fantasy VI.
Okay.
But there's actually something I want you to look up. Look up. It's Kefka, Kefka. His laugh. It's an 8-bit laugh that is like really iconic to the game, and it's really funny. And the first time I heard it in the game, I was like, "What the heck am I listening to?"
Is it like a white polar bear or something like that, or no?
It's hard. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is,
Wow.
the thing I liked about this game was each character had a special or unique trait to it. And one thing I wanted to mention in the beginning, I used to put my name as one of the characters in every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince, actually, in this game alone, I actually put you in this game as well.
Oh, as a main character, as a villain, or what?
Yes. Well, no, there was the thing is, there was really no main character. There was 14 characters, and each one has their own story. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a lot of characters in this game. Some, I think, 2 of them were optional.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, towards the end of the game, but there was these 2 people in general called Egner and Sabin. They were brothers.
Okay.
So, the thing with Egner, he was the ruler of this castle, a Fiera castle, and he was more of a thinker. He was more into using tools to combat his enemies.
Okay.
You would use like these different types of weapons and everything to make you. And he was strong. His character was strong. Sabin was actually the exact opposite. He was at this when I remember I was back in high school in this as well. So I was playing football. He was a muscular person. Like he were typical. He was our hardcore training, and his abilities was use his ability called Blitz, and you had to hit the directional pad in certain directions, and he would use an ability based off that, and it was one of the strongest abilities in the game. So if you use his hardest ability, you could do massive damage, single target damage to someone if you used the combo. Now, if you did it wrong, he didn't do anything, and it showed you like failed. So it was like kind of like a risk reward type thing if you on some of these things. And one of the funniest things about this game is that you're running away from a train in this game, and you're playing as Sabin, the muscular guy, and one of his abilities is a suplex. And what happens is he takes his target, he jumps up in the air and slams him onto the ground. Now the funny thing was though, it's 8-bit technology, like it's 2D technology. He would pick up the entire train. There it is. Yeah. That's Captain. He would pick up the entire train and like slam it on the ground. Like this little guy like this big is picking up a train that's like weighs like 2 metric tons. Yeah, it was just I don't know. It's one of the most iconic things that like in the game. That's probably kind of funny.
That's awesome.
But the thing that's I'm gonna go. There's gonna be a lot of spoilers in this top 5, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
The thing about halfway through the game, you fail. Your party fails saving the world, and the world technically gets destroyed. Like you are like when you wake up, like it's so depressing. Like the water's red, like everything is just in ruins. Your entire world is just destroyed, and you have one character, and you have to spend that character finding all your other party members, and it gets very depressing in the beginning of that. Yeah, and like I don't want to go too far, but if you don't do certain things right, one of your character ends up trying to I'm trying to think. Use this for YouTube friendly purposes. Self-delete herself.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, she runs to the top of a cliff and she ends up doing it, but she ends up getting saved by, magic or I think like a bird or something helps bring her back to life. But yeah,
crazy.
It's very sad. It was sad, and I try to avoid that scene altogether. You can if you do everything right.
There's a game that's not on your lists. That it reminds me a little bit of that. It was called I think Final Fantasy IV. There was a character named Cecil, and he's this Dark Knight, and I was doing some research before talking to you. And apparently, like, he ends up slaughtering a town or something, and he doesn't realize he's the bad guy until after you've done and everything. Like, there's little things like that
in the
really
very beginning.
Yeah, right.
Him and it was his dragoon buddy Kane that went to a village and just released a bomb on the city and killed everyone. It was pretty dark.
Yeah, so like I know that like when I think Final Fantasy, I think happy-go-lucky RPG, but like the more I hear about the stories in these different games, it's like, oh my god, these people, they're slaughtering towns, they're blowing things up, and oops, you're the bad guy all of a sudden. It's one of those oops, you're the bad guy moments. You know what I mean? I don't know, like the more I learn about the stories, like the more that it interests me.
I wanted to put 4 on the list, but I don't know, there was just other Final Fantasies that I was more drawn to.
Understandable. All right, so that was number 5. Anything else to say about your number 5 before you go on?
The only thing I didn't like about Final Fantasy VI is that the ending was very unfinished. I mean, once you defeat the final villain, the evil clown laughing person, Kefka.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have a sound clip for that. That's the villain?
That's the 8-bit laugh that was in the game.
Wow.
And I have a lot to talk about that laugh and when you're further down. But the thing I didn't like about Final Fantasy VI was the ending. It was like you save you can see the world starting to rebuild a little bit. But like once you're leaving the town, like they pretty much say like this kind of like this cheesy one-liner at the end. I wouldn't say it's cheesy, but it was like, oh, this is like the fastest ship in the thing, and it ends, and that's it. You don't see really where each individual character goes. Yeah, so I thought the ending could have been better, but all in all, it's a solid game. It's definitely a solid game.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so number 4, I have a sound effect for that.
What? I didn't even hear that.
You were so lucky.
Oh, is that
That's the
like
Titus.
4 times?
Yes, the Titus laugh 4 times. Hmm.
The Titus laugh every single time.
They're gonna get downvoted just because of that laugh.
What are you talking about? It's
Funny.
comedic. It's genius. It's
Perfect.
Yeah. So,
So,
number 4, what is that?
probably the most. You know, I might get a lot of hate for this just because this is so high on the list. But Final Fantasy VII was, I would have to say, my number 4. This is your by far one of the best games that came out on the PlayStation. I'm like, it's not even an argument. Like, I'm talking the original PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
This was, if you mention Final Fantasy VII to most people, they think of Cloud versus Sephiroth.
Uh-huh.
The iconic battle between these two characters, and the story is just so good. It was also, I think, the first Final Fantasy game where it was technically like it went from 6 which was like a 2D game.
Mm-hmm.
This was your first, I think, your 3D game. This was, and you had 3 people per party instead of 4 usually.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Sarah. And what happened is that they cut it down to, like, I think you can have, I think it was 8, and 2 of them were optional. And one of the characters, I think you would like, Vince, his name is Vincent, and he was an optional character, and he became one of the most popular characters in the game. So the thing that was great about Final Fantasy VII was the story was excellent. There's technically 3 parties at war here. You got your group, you got this big corporation called Shinra, and then you have Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Sephiroth is trying to end the world for his... He's... Like, it's really hard for me to explain a story without taking 17 hours to do so.
Yeah.
I strongly recommend looking into it or playing the game. But in a nutshell, Sephiroth found who he really was and who his ancestors were and everything. And he wanted to bring his ancestors back for the most part by destroying what was currently on your planet. So, I mean, like, you eventually find out that, like, you're fighting not just him, but you're also fighting this corporation as well, this Shinra corporation, because they are using, well, you're using life energy from the planet to make everyone's life comfortable, called Maker Energy. And there's your group who doesn't like that, so you're fighting to save the world from Shinra trying to destroy the planet, pretty much. To there you go. And then you have Sephiroth, on the other hand, who was a member of Shinra at one point until he found out the truth behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a very iconic scene as well in Final Fantasy VII that was very emotional. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I guess I can say, but Aerith is probably one of the most iconic characters because she gets killed by Sephiroth.
Yeah. And then late in the game too.
Yeah, and I would say about halfway, maybe 1/3 of the way through, and to have one of your main character die. Like, when I first saw what happened, I thought she was gonna come back. She never does. Like the fact that, like, in the music, the soundtrack made her death so much more dramatic, and like it's just like you're hard to believe that, like, someone this important is being killed off.
Yep.
And the one thing, like, eventually you go through the whole thing, and then you finally have your final showdown with Sephiroth at the end. So the thing I didn't like about Final Fantasy VII was similar to 6, was Aerith, who was in the live stream, was trying to summon this spell to stop Sephiroth casting his major spell. So you got this big meteor coming down to destroy the planet, and then Aerith casting the spell from Holy to counter that. So these two huge forces meet, and the game ends.
That's it? They didn't resolve any of that?
None.
That's like...
The only thing you saw was 2,000 years later.
That's stupid. It's like they ran out of money to finish the story.
Well, no, they wanted... I think the idea was to keep it open to have people use their imagination. Well, people didn't like that.
That's like Superman 5 with at the end of the movie where... Do you remember the end of Superman 5?
I try to block some of those movies out. Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
But it was such controversial. But the thing was, though, since the story was so good, Square Enix and Square in general made other games. There was one called Crisis Core, which was kind of like a prequel of a previous character that helped explain more Sephiroth's past. Also explained this character in general, who was your main character, Cloud's best friend. So it explained how Cloud got to where he was because of this individual, and you die at the end of this game. You know you die at the end of this game because that was explained in Final Fantasy VII. That his best friend actually was killed saving Cloud's life. And he went up against an entire Shinra army and nearly won, but he ended up losing at the end.
Gotcha.
But also, to make things even better, a movie was released 2 years after which was taking place 2 years after the ending of Final Fantasy VII, and these two forces collide. And it added a lot of closure to the Final Fantasy VII series as well.
Wait a second. Is that the one where like these aliens like suck up your energy or something? Is that?
Are you talking about Geostigma?
I don't know what it's
no,
called.
no. That was you're thinking of another Final Fantasy movie, which was really bad, I think.
Oh man, there was one that I saw that I liked.
I saw that in the theater, and I never saw it again.
Oh. Maybe. I know.
But yeah, this one was called Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. And if you do watch it, I suggest watching the Blu-ray version of it because it adds a lot more to it and adds more scenes and explains the story a little better.
Okay.
So it gives you a recap from the game of everything that happened, but then it adds. There's a lot of action. It was made in Japan, so I'm trying to think of like the best way. Like don't expect to have like realistic combat, kind of like there's people like kind of like jumping all over the place. It's like an animated, action scene, and the combat's amazing. Like the whole story is great. It added a lot of closure to it as well.
It kind of looks like the Final Fantasy VII remake that they just made.
That actually, I haven't yet to play that because it's only available for the PS4.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, it's supposed to be like Final Fantasy VII, like the whole story just remade. But there's supposed to be differences, and I don't want to go into spoilers because of that. People may not know that yet.
Oh, okay. I saw some of the trailers for it, and it looks really good.
Oh, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, and I think one of the differences though, is that it's not turn-based.
They actually, from what I understand, there is a turn-based option available.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I understand. I'm waiting for it to come out on Steam or something so I can, play it on my PC.
When did they stop doing turn-based? Like I was looking at recent Final Fantasies, like 12 and 13, and it seemed like it was like modern day and it's real time. It's like a Grand Theft Auto. When did they start doing that? Like I remember Dragon Warrior was turn-based, top-down. When did they turn Final Fantasy into this 3D open world environment? Is that new?
A little bit in 10 too. It was still turn-based, but it was a lot more fast-paced in action. But I think in Final Fantasy 12, I could be wrong here. They started doing that.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
I think it started in 12. Now correct me if I'm wrong though. I mean, I never played 12, but I do intend on playing, eventually getting into it.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the movie I was thinking of is called Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that and I fell in love with it, and I didn't even know it was a Final Fantasy movie.
There's a Sid in that movie too.
Huh?
There's a Sid in that movie too.
Was there?
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't know. I saw it a long time ago when I was much younger, and oh my gosh, it was such a great movie. I had no idea it was Final Fantasy. I just thought it was like a regular animated movie.
And by the way, I need to correct myself. It wasn't Superman 5. It was Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Oh.
Is it really peace?
No.
Oh, by the way, Final Fantasy VII was the only Final Fantasy and my first Final Fantasy game that I've ever played on PS1.
That's actually the case with a lot of people. 7 was their first one, and and that's a great one to start out with. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
it's such a good game.
It was really, really good. I remember being so addicted to it.
Like I said, some people may not be happy I choose it as my number 4.
Oh well.
They'll see why. Again, like I said, they'll see why once I go on. I think they're kind of getting an idea where I'm going on this list.
Gotcha. So you have anything else to say about 7 before we move on to the number 3?
There's the man.
Okay. Number 3 sound effect.
It It's okay.
I know you
It's
can't
fine.
hear it, but you'll be laughing your butts off when you replay it, the final version. Trust me, it's so funny. Anyway, so
You done?
what was your number 3 entry?
Okay, this is
I'm done.
The brotherly love. I can feel it.
Shadow. You want to do the rest of this?
What are you talking about?
Oh, that is the most iconic song.
Yeah,
That's actually from Final Fantasy VII.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the victory thing from 7.
That's awesome.
I could just tell just because of the
Yeah.
sound. Yeah. But number 3, this is a personal decision. This is a very personal choice for me. I have Final Fantasy V as my number 3 list, ahead of 7, and the reason why this was my very first Final Fantasy game. This was my very first adventure, my very first RPG, my very first story, my very first soundtrack that got me into the whole Final Fantasy franchise. And that's just something that most people just don't forget. Your very first time on, experiencing something. And I mean, the story was okay. It was good. The battle was the fighting in the battle was actually really good. You have 4 characters and that's it. But the thing was though, each character had access to like 20 plus jobs. Well, you don't get them all at the beginning. You get like 8 over like. You do a little bit of story, you get 8, then you get 8 more, then whatnot. And the cool thing about this was that any character could play any job. And if you learn the abilities off that job, you could switch to another job and then carry those abilities over from your previous job into your new one. So if you had a black mage, which is someone who's not familiar with, someone who uses like offensive spells like fire, ice, and thunder, and he's pretty much maxed out. He's pretty much learned everything he needs to learn on that. And you want to make him a white mage, he can carry his black magic spells as a white mage. So he could be a white mage casting offensive abilities.
Could you grind the entire game just like leveling up each character to be the master of everything? Like, can you?
You could, but there was limitations. You could only carry, depending on the job, you could only carry 1 extra ability slot. So you can't just have like.
So it's like a second talent, like in Guild. Was it the Guild Wars? Like you could have 2 talents.
Right. And the thing was, you weren't hindered. Like the more you learned it, the more your character could exceed in that area. So my main healer on Final Fantasy V was a samurai.
Oh, okay.
She
awesome.
Yeah, so I had a samurai in the front row, but she also had the ability to heal.
So she's like a paladin, but it was ninja. Like paladins can tank and heal. You've got this stealthy ninja that can heal. That's cool.
Well, it was different. There was also a ninja class, but there's also a samurai class. And the samurai, the main ability was that she could throw your money at the enemies and would do massive damage.
Money. Yeah,
it was called like a money toss or something, and it would just. Like if you had a lot of gil, it would do a lot more damage, and that's how I killed the final boss. Is that I had everyone learn this ability, and I just kept throwing money at the boss, and it was just doing massive AoE damage.
The boss is a stripper. Okay.
Pretty much. Speaking of which,
making it rain.
Final boss. He was by the name of Xdeath. He was also the Xdeath, I should say. He was my first villain I ever fought as well. So he would come up about halfway through the story, once he became free, and he would just mess with you all constantly. You would have to find ways to destroy him, and when you finally get to he actually ends up, spoiler, kills one of your main characters as well.
Oh.
So what happens is I mean, you get this battle. He ends up saving the whole party, but ends up costing his life. And they added this battle to a simulated battle of him just holding off Xdeath on his own. And Xdeath is just beating the crap out of him through this entire thing. There's nothing you can do about it, but you can still fight back.
Gotcha.
Your health gets 0, but you don't die. I mean,
Okay, so I get you.
I'm looking at the Final Fantasy V videos. And they're so pixelated. It makes me sad.
Well, it came out it was Final Fantasy 5 and 6 came
Mid
out together.
1990s.
Yeah, they came out together in a packet called Final Fantasy Anthology, and that's how I got into it. It had 5 and 6 together, and I even have some of the old guides to them as well next to me.
What made you like physically pick it up? Was it the music that was like, I like the music, so I'm going to buy the game, or was it?
Well, I saw someone playing it, and
okay.
they introduced me, and I got really involved in the story, and I wanted to know what happened next, so I ended up picking it up on myself, and I got it for Christmas or something.
Oh, okay.
I think, or my birthday, and I ended up playing 5 a lot, and again, that was my first RPG, and
Okay.
I probably played it like 3 times.
Cool.
Hey, David. We should totally get it for Vince, and then tell him it's an expansion of
You're
Stardew
fired.
Valley.
You're fired.
Just tell him it's an expansion of Stardew Valley.
You're fired.
He'll play it.
I think I'll recognize Stardew Valley over Final Fantasy. I'm just saying. I'm not that old and decrepit.
It's a DLC. It's a total DLC.
Yeah, Final Fantasy DLC for Stardew Valley. As long as I can still plant crops, I guess I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Yeah, it was
See what you did. See what you did.
Sorry.
In the old PlayStation games, they were actually 2-player games. So if you had someone with you, they could control certain party members, and you could control certain party members.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually a 2-player game, and with 5 and 6.
If it's turn-based, what's the point of a 2-player RPG like that? Like,
Well,
if
you had 2 different controllers. Let's say if I wanted to control character 1 and 3, and you controlled character 2 and 4. Once it was
Oh.
my turn, like even the sound came up, like there was like a little like ding to let
Yeah.
you know your character was ready. Now, if the second player was ready, it would be like a different ding, so you could actually hear the difference, like you know who was up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I mean, like I never really did it, but you could actually play together
Okay.
with someone if you really wanted to. I mean, if
Right.
you guys can experience the story together.
That's a cool idea. Like nowadays, it doesn't make like back then, back in the mid 1990s, that would be cool. It's just nowadays where we've got Steam Remote Play and all these other crazy things that enable multiplayer. It's like a pass and play feature on a turn-based RPG seems silly, but I guess back in those days, we didn't have anything fancy, so that's actually a cool feature. So, anything else to say about number 3, the Final Fantasy V, before we move on?
Just to clarify, like I said, my very first one, and
Yeah.
probably the most memorable ones of them all for me.
Okay,
That's awesome.
cool. Well, my number 2.
I'm actually regretting this decision.
This is his last time he's ever going to guess.
No, not just on my top. I'm just talking about this next pick in general. It's actually the one he's laughing at.
Oh!
Final Fantasy X.
I see.
Oh!
This was actually by far one of the most, I would say, emotional games. And
Oh, that's so rude.
Alright, go.
This is the most dramatic filled emotional game.
I had to. It's like the Nelson. Anyway, emotional. Go on.
The combat was changed a little bit. It was still turn-based, but what they did was they added a. I mean, you could just sit there and forever and nothing would attack you because it's turn-based. But they had like a little chart on the right that showed you who was going in what order. So if you use like certain attacks that were more powerful, sometimes they would actually drop your placement in further below on your next turn because of the fact that it was a stronger ability that just takes more time to recover on or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I liked about this game the most was it was suggested that you play through it multiple times, and it was incentivized that you do play it multiple times. They added their own language to the game called Albed, and it was a mini game that you had to find these books throughout the game, and the more books you found, you unlocked the letter. So, like for example, OUI would spell you. It would be pronounced we.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of explained that, like, so they actually had their own language, and then once you get all 26 books, you actually get like a little bonus for doing it, and you can actually understand everything that they're saying. Now, if you were to play the game a second time, they add this item in the beginning of the game where you can actually load your previous game's dictionary or the language, into your current game. So you could see what everyone is saying in the beginning of the game that you couldn't understand before.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So yeah, so it was little things like that, and the best thing about this game was the Titus, who knows nothing about this world of spirit that he's going into, and the thing that he narrates his whole time with you until you get to a certain part of the story, so you know as much as he does. So if something's not making sense to you, it's not making sense to him.
So is Titus the main character, or who?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, he's the one that you start out with. You're the one that run around with. I mean, that's who you're pretty much showing. But I would say all the characters are important to some point.
Gotcha.
And the story is very good. It does have its problems, as you like to remind me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was it was so bad. I got a clip I need to show you. Someone experienced that for their first time as well, and they were just like, "What the heck is this?" It's just like, but yeah, it was the thing. I'm gonna spoil this at the end.
Okay.
You're fighting this monster called Sin, and you later find out that your father was also sent to this world as well. And he became Sin because the fact that Yuna's father, who's also one of your characters, and another one of your characters named Orin, all fought Sin 10 years ago and defeated him. But the problem was, though, Sin kept coming back every time he was defeated, and no one knew why. Well, they find out that this whole process, this whole religion that was all built around protecting Spira and making sure that the summoners would sacrifice their lives to defeat Sin, and then a new Sin would appear every single time. They found out that was all like a false tradition. So your party eventually goes against this false tradition and goes its own way of attacking Sin. And the problem was that your main character, who was since it's not originally from Spira, it was actually from Xanarkand from a previous world, you find out that that's just a dream state.
Okay.
And what happens is, once the final boss, Yevon, is defeated, the dream ends, and so does your main character.
Oh wow, that sucks.
So what happened was, there was a love build-up between Yuna and Titus, and there was actually one scene where there was a romantic scene in the woods, and it's actually very well done. I mean, usually I look at that stuff like, this is kind of cheesy. No, it was, again, the music and everything with it made it very emotional. It was really good to see. Now, it's hard to watch the scene. Every time I watch it, it's hard not to get emotional watching it, because at one point, he's realizing that he has to go, and he's starting to fade out. And Yuna's just looking at him like, no, I don't want you to go. So he's saying, no, I'm saying goodbye. So instead of trying to make it prolong, he's about to jump off the edge of the airship into this far plane area to, end his dream. Yuna goes after him. And tries tries grabbing him. But the problem is, though, since he's a dream, she fell right through him and just landed right on the airship floor. And it's just that music that goes along with it. It's so emotional. And you would think, like, okay, he's coming back. No, he wasn't coming back. The dream ended.
There's a lot of like death and morbid storytelling in these Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, and
is there ever a happy ending ever?
There is.
Okay.
There is.
Okay.
That's what I want to get into, and it's not. It's Final Fantasy VII had a really happy ending at the end in the movie, and it was really good. It really enjoyable. 5 and 6 also had happy endings. I thought they were all great. Like, it's just that I think the ones that stand out the most are the ones that don't have happy endings, because you're expecting everything just to be back, and because at the end, she makes a speech in front of everyone, and everyone is praising her and her group for Yuna, that is, it's praising her for a job well done, and she makes a speech about, like, having to rebuild and coming together as one planet, and she says like, well, the people that we lost, and she just pauses for a moment and says the dreams that have faded, and you get all these flashbacks of them together. She goes, never forget them, and the game ends right there, and it's just like,
Wow.
oh.
That sucks.
Yeah, like it's like you just look like you're just sitting there, like you see the credits and you're just devastated at, like, just you beat the game and everyone is back being happy, but there was such a great cost of what happens. And then if you watch the credits, there is a slight little tease of Titus in the water, like swimming to the surface, but it was never explained. Oh, in that period of time.
I'm sure there's like pages and pages and pages of fan theory.
I'll go further into that later.
Okay.
It's actually it's in my notes here further down.
Gotcha.
When we get down to other topics, which I don't want to get into right now.
Okay.
Well, I remember Final Fantasy X coming out with a commercial, and I remember like they were in water or something, and they were kissing or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was the same.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. And then I saw gameplay, and it looked like Pokemon, where every time you ran, you would kind of like get grabbed by enemies. Yeah. And I was like, oh god, no, I don't think I could have done that.
But the thing is, though, they in the re-release version of Final Fantasy on the PC, they actually have like stuff to you can actually increase your encounters or just get rid of encounters altogether. So what I like to do was I would just walk around and just level up my characters, and when I was done leveling, I would just run through the areas without any encounters on, because I did all my battling there, and I would just, when I wanted to go for the story, I would just go for the story rather than fight monsters every 10 feet.
That is a cool feature. Like, it's something I wish Dragon Warrior had. Like, I can't tell you how many times on the NES version I was walking around with my guy, and I just trying to get from point A to point B, and a slime appears. Command, fight, run. I mean, like, really, another slime? Like, come on. I don't know. It was such a pain, but that's cool that later RPGs actually introduced that gameplay feature.
Well, it wasn't in the PS2 version. It was re-released on Steam, and they added these features. They're kind of like cheat codes, but
still, I think that's a huge quality of life upgrade that the game needed.
I mean, I would increase encounters when I wanted to level up my characters, and then I would just take off encounters when I was done leveling.
Yep.
So it looks like we're on our number one.
Oh, jeez.
Number one sound effect. That's
just once. You played it more than once, babe. I mean, I'm just saying. I
know what you're talking about. This is the first time I'm hearing it. I've never heard of this before.
Oh my gosh.
What was your number one entry?
Okay, so this one was kind of hard. This is why I asked you before, because it's an RPG, but it's also an MMO.
Well, MMOs and RPGs tend to go hand in hand. I mean,
it's called an MMORPG, so I mean that's why.
Which is fine. I mean, like there's equipping armor on the characters, weapons on the characters, rarity of items, quests, towns, fast.
You're only playing one character in this case.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's typical.
But obviously, I have to add this to my one list. I was gonna pick 10 as my favorite, but this latest expansion made the game and it had me go pick this as my number one. It's Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers.
Okay. And that's the one you've been playing lately?
Yes, a lot.
Okay.
There is just something about this game. It kind of starts slow. If this was still with the last expansion of Stormblood, I probably would pick this as maybe my 2 or even 4 spot. But this last expansion and the story is just so good. I mean, the music again is just it blew me out of the mind. Like, you pretty much are this warrior of light throughout this, like through 3 expansions. You're this warrior of light. You fight these monsters called primals, who are pretty much gods that are summoned by monsters, and these primals enslave pretty much people to their will, but they also provide protection. So you're giving up something in order to feel safe. If I had to put it in a nutshell, really. So you have to go around slaying these primals in the beginning of like the first 50 levels of the game, and you also go up against this empire as well, this evil empire, and the Imperials and whatnot.
Star Wars.
Kind of, yeah. But the thing is, though, this game did not start off good at all. In fact, in 1.0, I think in 2010. This game came out as 1.0 and was probably one of the worst games ever made
Wow.
as an MMO.
But they fixed it.
What happened was they realized how bad this game was, and they caused an in-game event that shut down their servers. An entire meteor and monster just came out and destroyed half the planet.
That's cool.
They added a cutscene, like this whole visual and everything, and I suggest you watch it because it's really good. And what happened is that video was over, servers went down for over a year.
That's what happened to Star Wars Galaxies, but it was permanent. Like I was around for the shutdown of Star Wars Galaxies, and that was like it sucked. Like it was just, this is it, guys. You know, the servers. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that was all that time and energy I put into my Star Wars character gone.
Rough,
but
dude.
so it was offline for a year, and I'm guessing it came back over a year, and it was better after the fact.
Well, no, they just completely changed the game, the combat system, everything. They released the Final Fantasy 14 of Realm Reborn, called ARR for short.
Did they recharge customers to pay? Did they have to pay for it again?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't know, honestly.
That was sucked. Oops, we messed up on our other game.
I didn't. I mean, I started when the first expansion, Heavenwards, came out, but I actually dropped it to go back to WoW for a little bit. And then once WoW started going off a cliff again,
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I went back into it, and it was during the third expansion of the game, and I started getting hooked again because story was good. It starts out slow. I would say the first 50 levels are kind of a little bit of a drag, but they actually, in this latest patch, they made it better. They cut out a lot of the chores quests, I would have to call them. Like they want you to go deliver something, and
Right. Yeah.
Delivery quest.
Yes. Yeah, I know the quest you're talking. Go kill 7 of these. Go deliver this letter.
No, not even that.
Fetch
it wasn't
quest.
Even that. It was a fetch quest. There was nothing but like fetch quests for like 5 quests straight, and there was actually this one point because you have to think, at Realm Reborn, that was the final content, so they had to keep adding content to the game, more story quests, so people would still be interested. Well, 100 quests later, Heavenwards came out, and they kept those 100 quests there that were just so long and tedious. Like I was just so bored of it after a while. But the thing was, though, once you get into Heavensward, they added this. The story there was excellent. You start going up, you start seeing dragons. There's this huge war between man and dragons just takes place, but the whole war was pretty much built around lies, and you start understanding what really happened between, and that man wasn't so innocent as they claim to be, and it wasn't man that I was actually the reason of this whole war starting. Like the dragons were actually just become vengeful. Like some of them have become so vengeful, and just want to kill men like all the time because of what happened in the previous years. So you eventually go against like this huge battle against one of the biggest dragons ever, and again, more emotional scenes, like characters that you knew came back, helped you out.
You mean from like prior Final Fantasy games, or from that MMO specifically?
From that MMO specifically.
Okay. It would have been cool if they would have like retconned or brought in characters like Cecil and other characters from other Final Fantasies and Aerith.
They actually put. That's the thing I was gonna get into eventually.
Okay, all right.
But they actually have like minions of Aerith's Cloud, like little pets that follow you around.
Oh, okay.
You can actually have them. But you have to buy them.
Of course you do. It's MMO.
But the thing is, like they have a lot of microtransactions, but there's a lot of stuff in the game that's also very good.
Well, you were trying to get me into the game. You were talking about different professions and classes and all these jobs, different things.
Like I'm still going into the story, but like eventually I'll get into the gameplay about it. But Stormblood was okay. Like the story was very linear, and it was good. It wasn't great. But in Final Fantasy, the end of Heavensward, which is the second expansion, you fight these warriors of darkness, and at the time you feel sympathy for them, but you don't realize how important their storyline is about to become. So once you get into Shadowbringers, you eventually have to go to another planet, and to put this into layman's terms, there was two gods, I would have to call them. Now it's argumentative that they're primals. The person that your god is called Hydaelyn. there was another god called Zodiark, and those two had a massive clashing out. Hydaelyn eventually became on one, and Zodiark was pretty much condemned. It split the planet. Hydaelyn split the planet into 13 different planets.
Mhm.
So and pretty much entrapped Zodiark, so he could never come back and whatnot. Well, these Ascians, who are followers of Zodiark, the original people of Zodiark, are trying to release him, and they're doing everything they can to try and bring the balance, trying to bring all the planets back together. And it's a very delicate process on how they have to do it.
Mhm.
So what they have to do is they have to tip like the balance of, like, let's say dark and light. If a planet becomes too involved in light, too many good deeds, too many good things, it'll be engulfed in light. If there's too many bad deeds or too many whatnot, it'll be engulfed in darkness. Now the thing is, though, too much of anything's bad. So what happened was you have to travel to one of the planets called the First,
Mhm.
which is supposed to be like, I would say, like kind of like an alternate reality kind of thing. It's very similar, but there are differences.
Okay.
And what happens is you find out that these warriors of darkness came from the First, and they were saying that their planet, it was engulfed in light because something screwed up. One of the Ascians screwed up and didn't calculate something, and they used these warriors of darkness to meet their, I would say, their agenda to try and make the First merge with the Source, is where you're from. So, and I know it's complicated. It's hard to go into details about it.
Yeah.
But what happened when Shadowbringers, you go to the First, and the entire planet is just nothing but light. It's just like it's tipping onto the point where it's about to just
Too many
be
good deeds
engulfed.
were done, so you got to be evil.
Yeah, so there's actually like light monsters out there. There's like these mutants out there. These like light angel mutant things that just like, if you watch the opening in the trailer to Shadowbringers, you'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
But you find out that all your characters, all your allies and everything from the story are over there as well.
Mm.
And it's hard to like explain the whole story, but long story short, you eventually meet an Ascian who starts explaining why they are doing this, and he goes by the name of Emmett Selk. And the whole time you're watching this, you don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes so much sense on why he's doing it, and you start feeling sympathy for him.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the final battle with him, there is no good or bad side.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much his people versus your people. I mean, Hydaelyn won, but the Zodiark wants to bring back his family. Like, the Ascians want to bring back their brothers and sisters as well.
Mm-hmm.
And to them, you're the enemy, and to you, they're the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So there really is no good or bad side. I mean, of course, this process is going to kill millions of people, even billions. But those aren't his people. Those are. I mean, his family, his everything about him is gone, and he's trying to bring back his only family he has left.
Gotcha.
So
I like the stories of all the Final Fantasies. It's so overwhelming, I think.
well, 14 is very overwhelming.
Yep.
Because there's more to it than just battle. There's a bunch of different jobs you can play. There's a crafting system that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more to it. And the one thing I've also the reason why I added 14 to my list was the community is just amazing.
Oh,
It is.
it's
in
all
fact,
about the community.
I mean, not only is it the story good, like we all experience the story together.
Mm-hmm.
We all talk about it together. Just yesterday, there's player housing,
Oh, nice.
and one of these streamers that I went on, his free company or guild is in Genova, which is actually connected to the server I'm on, so I can hop between different servers depending on what location they're from. So I went to his place. He was actually holding a party night at his place,
Mm-hmm.
and he was streaming it on his whatchamacallit, on his Twitch channel,
Uh-huh.
and he themed it for like a disco night.
Oh,
So
okay.
so you saw a lot of people like dressed up, like they had like afros and like attire that was all like disco, like it was so cool. Like there's probably about 75 to 100 people there in his house.
Wow.
Wow.
Actual players, yeah. So
That's
we all
the
had a
new
good time.
partying in this COVID world that we're living in.
Yeah, like I said, when you can't go out and have a good time and interact with others, this is your next best thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, he adds content to the game, and they held contests of like different types of outfits. Who have like who had the best outfit. I mean, there was reward prizes and everything.
Hmm.
They actually like decorated their basement area to like a looks like a bar area. Then there was like a giant dance floor and everything. Like and while he was streaming, he had like Earth, Wind, and Fire playing on his on the stream or something like that.
Cool.
So yeah, so it's just events like that that make the game a lot of fun. And kind of jumping around a little bit,
Mhm.
you were talking about
Professions
tidbits.
and.
Well, no, you were talking about like adding characters from previous games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's these things called trials, where just like 8-man fights. All you do is you go in, you fight a boss with 7 other players.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
No trash.
Like
no nothing.
rating.
Just go in.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can take okay. There's a boss. You fight him. Did you win? Great. If not, okay, let's start over.
Okay.
And once you beat him, that's it. And you just go. You can queue in for the next boss fight. Well, in the optional trials and dungeons, they added a lot of monsters that were in the previous Final Fantasy games. For
Okay.
example, in I remember I told you about X-Death in Final Fantasy V, my first villain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At the end of this one set of raids, he was the final boss.
Cool.
And going from seeing a 2D figure to what I'm used to, seeing a 3D version
Yeah, that's
of
right.
X-Death, of like my first villain ever, was just completely awe. Like I was fighting against my first ever villain as my Final Fantasy character,
That's
and it
awesome.
was me and 7 other people going up against X-Death, it was so cool. And they added Kefka to it, and they added when you pull him initially,
Uh-huh.
they added that laugh. They kept the 8-bit
Ah.
laugh and everything.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, so like as soon as you pull, you hear that laugh. It's just like, oh, that's so iconic.
That's cool. I'm glad that they, had some fan service in there for, players that have stuck with the franchise all the way through. That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's there's just so many there's so many nostalgia things. Like they even remade some old soundtracks from like Final Fantasy 1 and 2, and then redid the songs as modern day songs, like without the 8-bit version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of them that stands out the most is this one called the Mushroomery. And I'll link it to you in your Discord,
Okay.
so you can hear it. But I'll let you listen to like the 8-bit version and then what they made it into, and it's just like it's so good.
Cool.
That's so funny.
All right. Anything else to say about Final Fantasy? Whatever.
14?
14. Yes.
Yeah, Shadowbringers. Like I said, the only thing I can suggest is that I understand that it's an MMO and you have to pay $15 a month to play it.
Mm-hmm.
But I strongly suggest giving it a try if you have the time.
Mhm.
If not, I completely understand. The game's not meant for everybody.
I did try it to be fair, I tried it. I had it installed for 3 or 4 days. I tried it. It was just me talking to a bunch of people that I had no stake in, and I'm like, I don't know any of these people, what the story is. Like, I felt like I was playing it for the gameplay, and it was just constant delivery, and I'm like, well,
it's very story driven. That's one thing I will tell you. I mean, you're playing the game not just for the gameplay, but for the story. And if you don't like the story, then you're taking a big part of the way of the game. And one thing that they just added in the last patch, which was by far one of the best patches ever, they added the free trial version. They extended it to level 60. So you can play all of level 50 content, kind of like the boring stuff, and the very first expansion for free.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Now, is that limited to like 15 days?
No.
Or it's just, okay.
No.
So it's like Star Wars Knights of the Republic Online, where you can play up to level 60 and then, or whatever level
That's
cap
a lot
it
of
is.
content.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a lot of MMOs are doing
It's
that
free.
now, where, yeah.
But there are limitations, though.
I'm sure you can only have so many things, like your storage is only so big, no housing.
Your guild's capped. You can't whisper people or send tells. You can't join a guild or free company. So there are, some limitations like that.
Yeah.
But if you just want to experience the game, try. I suggest downloading the free trial. You have nothing to lose.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So I guess that was our top 5 Final Fantasy games.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I love that sound effect.
Are we going to my other list as well? We have time to go through my other list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have some dishonorable mentions.
Oh my gosh,
which
that's
are
so great.
really cool. I'm glad that I didn't think about. I always have honorable mentions, but I never do dishonorable. That's actually a cool idea. So, what are your dishonorable mentions?
Okay, so I had to break this up because I just felt like just saying one in general was bad. Because there might be things that was okay about the story that was worse than others. So I broke it up into gameplay and story.
Okay.
It's where the gameplay was god awful or the story was just god awful.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the gameplay one. I have to go with Final Fantasy VIII.
Final Fantasy VIII. Okay.
I'm gonna go. The story wasn't all that great either. I almost picked this one for both, but the story wasn't that great either. It's very linear. It makes no sense in my opinion. You later find out that your whole party was like orphans, and they were all together, but they somehow don't remember each other.
Okay, that's weird.
So like, oh, we were all in the same orphanage all this time, but we never remember who we were. Oh wait, we remember who we are now. It's like, okay, whatever.
So they were Men in Black flashed, I guess.
Pretty much. It's just like I mean, I'm not gonna go into the story too much. I mean, the story's okay. I have played it a few times, but the thing I could not stand the gameplay. It's probably the worst gameplay, and I was between this and Final Fantasy II. And Final Fantasy II was so bad. It was like they decided to like, okay, so you want to level up your strength? Well, you have to attack more, so then your strength will build up. But if you want to get hit points, you have to hit yourself.
Yeah, you hit yourself. You mean like you have to let the enemy hit you?
You have to literally hit yourself in order to get yourself more hit points.
Wait a minute. Wait. It's not the enemy hitting you. You have to physically attack yourself.
No, you could let the enemy hit you, but if you want to do it faster, you would hit yourself.
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard. Like the Elder Scrolls, like Oblivion. There are a number of RPGs that you level up skills as you do them. So if you're using more magic, then you'll level up your magicka. If you're doing lock picking, then you'll level up your lock picking skill. So
which makes sense. I understand that, but the fact that they said, "Well, you'll get more endurance when you get hit more," I'm like, no. But I was gonna pick that as my top gameplay, but then I switched to 8 because of the draw system. The draw system was such a bad idea. So the thing I didn't like about Final Fantasy VIII was when you leveled up your characters, the monsters leveled up with you. So there was really there was really no point of leveling up your characters. But what made your character stronger was this thing called this draw system, DRAW. What happened was each monster had its own unique set of magic that you could actually take from. Now it sounds like a neat idea. So you would draw this magic, and then you could actually use that magic to increase your stats on your character. The problem was the cap was 100. So if you wanted to cap out your character's strength, you would have to gather 100 magic of each item, and there was like literally probably over 30 to 40 spells, and you're doing this across 3 characters.
That's a lot of work.
And you could only draw between 1 and 9. So if you got lucky and drew 9 every single time, it would take you 11 turns at least to max out that school of magic.
That's stupid. Like I never understood.
It wasn't necessary, but to max out your character and actually like make them the strongest they could be, you would have to draw 100 magic, and then you could equip. Then your character became really strong though.
Still, like scaling, I hate it when games scale based on your current level. I
do.
I think every RPG should be zone based. Like this zone. They're doing that too.
Well, they're not only doing just level scaling, but they're doing PvP scaling as well. Ugh. So imagine this in a scenario. This was actually proven and clipped. Let's say you decide to take all your armor off, okay, and you're sitting at 50,000 health. Okay, I have an ability that's going to hit for like 90,000 health, okay,
and kill you instantly.
It should, right?
Yeah.
Okay, on my screen, I hit you for 90,000, but on your screen, you only get hit for 30,000.
Because it's the scaling.
It's the scaling. It's a PV. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make the balance of people trying to.
So what's
play
the
together.
point then of grinding
There is
for
none.
better armor and weapons then?
There is none.
That's what I mean, like, the
Why do
whole...
you think I don't play the game anymore?
Yeah, like, I remember back in the day when I played World of Warcraft, there was PvP gear with resilience on it.
That was great.
Yeah, and we had to keep doing various either raids or dungeons or something. We earned these badges, I think. We turned in those badges for PvP gear, and then we would just be stronger. And
Right.
our hard work paid off because we were
Right.
good in those. But now, like, what's the point of scaling it when it's like the modern generation wants everything handed to them, including,
Well,
you know what I mean?
It was even proven in another video that the like gem sockets.
Yeah.
So you could add sockets to your gear, but the problem is though, because of the hidden scaling, it actually made your character weaker.
That is stupid. That's
yeah.
all right. Yeah, I'm
so
over it.
Yeah, WoW has a lot of problems right
Now,
now.
is that
and
classic WoW included, or is that
No.
only okay?
Doesn't-
That's the modern
Retail.
day. Okay,
retail?
but classic.
I don't know what they're doing in Shadowlands. I have no idea what their plans are, but it's hard for me to be excited about anything in World of Warcraft now. That's why I moved over to Final Fantasy.
That sucks because I was so invested in World of Warcraft for the longest time. I like the
Me too.
mining, the PvP, the PvE.
10+ years.
Yeah, I was in the original World of Warcraft. Burning Crusade? There was Frost of the Lich or Wrath of the Lich King.
Frost of the Lich King.
Yeah, Frost of the Lich. I was thinking
Frosty the
Death
Snowman.
Knight. Frosty the Snow. Yes. And then whatever was after that, I don't remember. But yeah, I think it was 1 or 2 expansions I stuck around, and then I quit. Just because the level caps kept going up and up and up. I had 10 characters, and I was leveling them all up to 80, then 85, then 90, and at some point it was 120. I'm like, there's no way I can do 10 characters and level them all up to 120.
Well, the good news is that they're doing a level squish. Everyone's going to be back down to 60 as a cap again, which is actually it's just a great idea. They actually made the leveling process a lot better, from what I understand. But still, it's just they're just putting limitations on your character, and making you make permanent choices that could affect your gameplay with others, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So it's just right now, like I haven't even pre-ordered the expansion yet.
I don't blame you.
It's just like I wanna enjoy the game because I've played it for so long, but I'm having too much fun on Final Fantasy 14 right now.
Got to do what you like. That's it's your money. It's you spend it where you like.
I can't remember the last time I went to a party and had disco night on a virtual game.
Yeah, you can't do that in Warcraft.
mean,
The weirdest thing that I saw in Warcraft, there was a server that you would go into, and then there was an inn right outside of Stormwind.
No.
I'm not going to get into what happens there. It's one of those what happens in Azeroth stays in Azeroth. I'll just say that. It was this tavern, there's a basement. I'm not going to go any further into that. I'm just saying, yes, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm just saying that was the weirdest thing I've seen in an MMO before. But if Final Fantasy has like a lot more to it than that, then I think that's the better choice to make.
Well, the thing is, though, is that I'm not going to lie, there is that in that game as well. But
I'm sure.
But it's private. It's very
okay.
They don't force it on you if you don't want to. I mean, it's
yeah.
I mean, if they don't, it's not like they do it right in front of you. No, there's usually like separate rooms that people like to go into. That's their business, not mine. That's all I know. I mean, when you attend a lot of these parties, you just hear things.
Gotcha. So
I have one more dishonorable mention.
One more dishonorable mention. Okay, is this regarding the story one?
Yes.
Okay, what's that one?
So remember I told you in Final Fantasy X, like how it was so emotional.
Yes.
And such a good story.
Yes.
Well, the follow-up story that they made, the follow-up game 10-2, which took place after, was by far one of the worst stories ever in Final Fantasy history, which is such a big disappointment because 10 was so good. What happened was you play as Yuna going in, which is not a bad thing, but the story was so... I don't know. It was so off.
Were there three female characters in this by chance?
It turned into a chick flick, pretty much.
Because I was doing some research. I was trying to pull a clip, but the only video I could find was 7 hours long. It was like there was this tank general, and they were fighting, and they were I don't know what the situation was, but they were threatening these three women, and then the women are like, "Oh, nice uniforms," or something like the dialogue was so bad, like it was just the story didn't make any sense to me. I mean,
it was because for the fact that 10 was so good is I had big expectations and I was hyped for 10 too. In the first like half an hour, you're like, "What the heck is this?"
Mm-hmm.
And the thing which makes it even more disappointing was the gameplay was fun. It had it was a very fast-paced turn-based system, which I liked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack was amazing as well, and it did have good moments in the story. I mean, you learned about some of your characters that you played in the original game.
Mm-hmm.
You learned out what happened afterwards. You learned out, like one of them had a child, or like, two of them hooked up and had a child. And they kind of made what happened was you find a sphere or like a little video,
Mm-hmm.
which it looked like someone exactly like Titus and sounded exactly like Titus, but wasn't Titus. So they went around the world trying to find more information about this.
Interesting.
And long story short, it became a political game, and like the sphere was divided between these two groups, and at one point you got to make a decision if you wanted to go with them or the other one.
That was the dog. That was not my sound effect. That was the dog.
And the thing that made it is that they turned the whole story into a bunch of mini games as well. And they were not fun mini games, and you could in order to actually understand and make sure you experience everything, you needed some sort of guide to tell you exactly where to go on every one. And if you didn't, you could actually miss a lot in the story.
That sucks. I don't like games. Yeah, I can understand open world games, but at the same time, like, if there's a huge story there and the player can miss it, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, they even keep your track of like a percentage on how much you go, and even with the strategy guide book, I only got to like 98%. I had to play the game a second time and go the second route in order to unlock the 100%. And then this was before, like, you could actually look up the extra scenes. You got like a bonus scene at the end, and they made it. What happened was at the end of the game, they brought the people who were dreaming and everything. They brought back Titus. So Titus and Yuna end up reuniting. And it was their happy scene and whatnot, which I thought I didn't like, because of the fact that I mean, it was nice to see like the happy ending for one, at the very end.
Did they laugh?
No.
Oh no.
I mean, not like that. But like the thing was like there was a lot of good things about the game, like I said, but it's just. All the mini games were just so unfun, and it was just mandatory fun, and it was just like if you wanted to experience the story and everything, you had to do all this other stuff, and if you just went through the storyline like what they gave you, you would only experience maybe like 30 to 40% of the game.
That's a shame. Like, you make all this content, and then because of poor design, the player can miss half of it, or even more so. I mean, that's
even with the strategy guide book, that's like.
Is it like one of those Primus? It's one of those Primus strategy guides that are like, yeah. Probably.
It was pretty bad, and I don't know. It's just I had to follow it like step by step and make sure I didn't miss anything. And I still ended up missing stuff.
Wow.
So, but like I said, the gameplay was fun. The soundtrack was great. I still listen to the soundtrack to this day. It had its good moments, but I would say about like 75% of it was uninteresting. Okay. And I did not really care. Like I tried playing it again. I made it about 2 hours into it because some of the characters were just so annoying and I couldn't deal with it.
Wow.
It was more annoying than that laugh.
Oh, that's just
no, that's a great laugh.
You just gave him permission to do it 50 more times, David.
Well, how dare you?
I am wounded!
Oh my god, that's the best. Wow, you were just waiting for that.
I was waiting for an hour and a half to hit that. That's the best Frasier moment ever.
I'm surprised none of my cats came up and tried jumping on my back of my chair or something.
You see Sarah waiting for you on the door?
Yeah, Sarah's sitting at the top of the stairs, staring
Yeah.
down the stairs, waiting for me.
As always.
I have a special segment for the both of you.
Oh, okay.
And it deserves its own music here. It's a quiz trivia.
Oh, this is fun.
Can you hear this at all?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, that's Double Dare.
Yes. It's a trivia, Final Fantasy trivia.
A Final Fantasy trivia?
Yes.
Am I allowed to use Google?
No, it's you
No?
versus David. We'll see who we'll see who the best Final Fantasy most knowledgeable.
Obvious. It's David.
Oh, it could be anybody. It could be anyone.
Please.
It could be anyone.
Game.
All right. So we'll start with David. This is a question, and some of these he's already said, so this is going to be the stupidest quiz
crap.
ever.
Yeah, see how well you're paying attention.
Yes. So, David, your first question is, who was the villain in Final Fantasy I, developed and published by Square in 1987?
What?
I don't know. I heard that fight was pretty chaotic.
Oh!
I better get like how do you spell Final Fantasy?
Hold on. Your question, Idly, is Sephiroth is a character in Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
What number comes after 7?
Really? 8.
Very good. Your Final Fantasy knowledge is paying off. Congratulations.
Wow.
That was a beautiful...
I was kind of excited, to be honest, because I played Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were gonna Sephiroth was the main villain in this Final Fantasy. Like, no, what comes after 7? 12.
David, your second question. Name 3 Final Fantasy characters who appeared in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, I know this one.
Maybe this should have been an Idly question.
I'll take her question.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Who were the 3 main party members in Kingdom Hearts 2?
The 3 main from Final Fantasy.
I'm sorry,
or...
Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah, that because I know you didn't play Final Fantasy, so I'm like, I gave you a Kingdom Hearts question, even though it's Final Fantasy quiz.
No, I play Kingdom Hearts too. I play Kingdom Hearts because of Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay. So who were the 3 main characters then? The 3 main party members that you controlled?
Okay. Well, there was Sora.
Okay.
And Donald.
There you go. All right.
Donald was the mage. Goofy was the kind of like a warrior shield type person.
Yep.
And Sora was, you could actually, one thing that's pretty cool about Sora is that you could actually pick which you want to focus on: magic, shield, defense, or attack.
Okay.
And the Final Fantasy characters that came up were Cloud and Tifa. Wasn't it Tifa? Tifa was in there, wasn't? Oh no.
Yeah, in the second one, yeah.
And Sephiroth, wasn't he in there too?
Yeah, he was an optional boss.
Yeah.
So that's
he was
2. Who else? Who else did you say? Tifa,
Cloud.
Cloud. I have them too, but there were some other ones.
Keep naming them. See how many you know.
Sephiroth.
That's-
Barrett wasn't in there.
Oh, I know.
No. That's all I know.
All right.
So, good.
Oh, go ahead. Do you think you know of any other ones?
Oh yeah, there was Squall, but he was known as Leon in the game.
Leon!
Okay.
That's who it was. Okay.
There was also Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII.
Yuffie! Dang it! I never
Aerith was
played.
also in the original Kingdom Hearts and in the second one. In the second one, YRP made appear. Yuna, Riku, and Pain from Final Fantasy X-2 made an appearance.
Sure.
Let's see here. I know there was Sephiroth was actually. This was really cool tidbit. Sephiroth was actually one of the main optional, like the hardest boss in the Kingdom Hearts 1 as an optional boss, and it was the first time that he actually had a voice. And it was actually pretty weird who the voice actor was. It was Lance Bass. I believe it was from the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, and Sync.
Oh my goodness.
Lance Bass was the voice actor for Sephiroth when he did his attacks.
Oh, that's so weird.
That's crazy. Well, what I have written here, On the Destiny Islands, the player meets younger versions of Titus and Waka from Final Fantasy X. And Selphie from Final Fantasy VIII. In Traverse Town, the player encounters Squall, Leonhardt, also known as Leon from 8, as well as Aerith, Cid, and Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII. Riku from Final Fantasy X was originally set to appear, but was replaced by Yuffie. Cloud and Sephiroth, both from Final Fantasy VII, make appearances in Olympus Coliseum, where the player can fight them in tournaments. Cool.
What's cool is that when I played Kingdom Hearts 2, I didn't know anyone from the Final Fantasy things except for the ones that were in 7. So I knew Cloud and I knew Sephiroth, I think. And when I met Yuffie and all the other ones, I didn't know that they were Final Fantasy characters until way later. So that was pretty weird.
One thing I liked about Kingdom Hearts 2, in the first Kingdom Hearts, you usually just fought against them. I mean, there was either like you were fighting against them in the tournaments, and whatnot. But in Kingdom Hearts 2, like one of their very first battles is that you and Leon or Squall are investigating something in the basement, and then you get ambushed or something, if I remember right. So you get to fight side by side with your Final Fantasy characters rather than against them, and I thought that was really cool.
Nice. Okay. All right, number 3, this is for David. There are big yellow birds that can be seen in
Chocoboats.
Yes, okay.
Jesus.
All right, then. That's like those Jeopardy nuts that that click in even before they hear that. Okay, yes.
That bird is also in every single Final Fantasy game.
Is it?
Yes.
Ida Lee.
Oh, crap.
What letter does Final Fantasy start with?
Really? The same letter I'm about to say to you.
I'm gonna give that that is
Incorrect. Incorrect.
F.
Negative.
F.
Oh,
okay.
negative. All right.
Verified.
Verified. Good job.
What letter starts after T?
I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should do math again.
Number 4. This is for David.
Wow.
What is the money or the currency in Final Fantasy called? Gil. Okay. Let's see. This is coming from someone that knows nothing about Final Fantasy. I thought these were hard questions. Okay. Number 4 for Ida Lee.
Mm-hmm.
There is a character that wields a large sword. Is his name Sky, Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, Stratus, or Cloud?
Cloud.
Very good. That's.
I guess Cloudy.
Cloudy.
I like Cloudy.
Fun fact, Vince.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but during the story in Final Fantasy VII, Gareth and Cloud are trying to rescue Tifa from this like really shady place.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that they can get in there is if girls are allowed to enter. So they dress up Cloud like a girl.
Oh, I remember that.
And he has to go. He has to actually be like. You have to find a dress for him and everything to get him into this place. Like get him makeup, and it was really funny. And they in the remake they really expand on it too.
Awesome.
Oh, that is too funny.
All right, I
like men now.
Oh, jeez.
All right, this one might be hard. I actually discovered this creature in Monster Hunter Worlds. There is a creature that looks like a cactus and has a 10,000 needle attack. What is his name?
Cactor.
Cactar. Yep. Do you remember that character, or do you remember in Monster Hunter World?
I do. I have both. I have both the small one and the big one in my room.
Okay. I didn't realize that was from Final Fantasy. I had no idea.
Yeah. Fun fact: every needle is 1 hit point. So if you get hit by 1,000 needles, you lose 1,000 health. If you get hit by 10,000 needles, you lose 10,000 health.
I heard that he's like a really difficult character that you don't want to fight him at all in that game, but I don't know how true that is.
It depends.
And Ida Lee, your number 5 question is, which game did you own for the PlayStation 1?
Final Fantasy VII.
Very good. I am gonna give you a victory.
Wow. Which game did I? I don't know. Let me think.
This is a tight game. Go ahead.
My server is actually called Cactor on.
Oh, no kidding.
That's awesome.
All right, now David can win this. Because of all the semi-easy questions I've been giving Idly, I'm going to give David a chance just to win the game right now. This is the last bonus question. And he's already said it. Which character has appeared in nearly every game? The airship pilot. He has a knack for engineering. Sid. In that case, you win.
Wow. I had something one before we even started.
That was tough. That's really tough.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. That was our top 5 Final Fantasy with our recreational quiz that followed. I want to give a special thanks to Dave here for being such a trooper and giving us so much information and being so knowledgeable about this particular topic, because I clearly have none. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, dude. That was it was so much fun.
Yeah, like I said, I started junior high playing 5, so I was 12. I'm 33 now, so
You have
like
20 years of Final Fantasy knowledge. That
You might as well just be the developer. Just
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know what I started first, X-Men versus TIE Fighter or Final Fantasy V. I really can't recall. So I may have played Final Fantasy before I went by the name White Knight. I don't remember.
That's awesome.
All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to make a cut here, and then I think tomorrow we're going to record our community segments, because the game deals and all that, they typically are time sensitive. I don't want to list off game deals for games that are no longer going to be on sale 2 days from now. So we're going to just put a cut here, and I want to, again, thank Dave for stopping by. It's been a pleasure having you. Hopefully we'll have you on again when we come up with another, top list that you're very knowledgeable about. Yeah, so this is Vince, Idly, and Dave. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in a little bit.
Bye, guys. Thank you again, David.
Bye.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.
And welcome back. So that was really cool of my brother to stop by, say hi, and display all of that wonderful Final Fantasy knowledge. I certainly don't have it. Idly, you've only played the one game, so this would have been a very, very short podcast had he not stopped by to say all that stuff. So anyway, we're going to get all of our community stuff out of the way real quick. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Spanish sentence of the week. And of course, that deserves its own sound effect. That never gets old.
I'm forgiven!
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So, you gave me this to translate.
Mm-hmm.
La otra noche hubo un debate de matemáticas que gané. That translates to, let's see, la otra noche. Noche is night. So, otra, what is otra? Well, when I think otra, extra, the extra night, no. Otra orca. It could be an orca. I think it's an orca. The orca night, the fish orca.
Okay.
Hubo, like hobo. The fish at night is a bum. It doesn't do anything. It's a hobo. Un debate, debates. The fish at night that is a hobo likes to debate mathematics. Mathematicas with Gagne. Gagne is a cousin to Kanye. So I think the Spanish sentence translates to the orca at night is a hobo and debates math with Gagne, the cousin to Conway. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Amazing. I don't know how to do it.
I think that's it. That's our Spanish sentence. No, I'm
Very
kidding.
good.
So
You got it. Perfect.
perfect.
100%.
So what is the actual? How do you say it first off?
You say la otra noche hubo un debate, or debate, I forget, de matemáticas que gané.
You're the Spanish expert. Shouldn't you be?
I love that random music. It's just so random.
No, every time I say the word Spanish,
Is debate or debate? No, it's debate. Okay.
debate,
I got it.
Spanish.
La otra noche hubo un debate de matemáticas que gané. It means the other night there was a math debate that you won.
That is our Spanish sentence of the week. It's an inside joke. Alright, so just to quickly summarize that, I was on stream.
He has a clip of it. He's going to play the clip right now.
I will not play the clip right now. It's not family friendly.
Oh.
But
Yes, it is. It's just a math debate.
There are channel points that can be redeemed on my Twitch channel, and one of those channel points makes me sound like Yoda, which I can talk like Yoda, sort of. Anyway, so David, my brother, redeemed some channel points to make me talk like Yoda, and the sentence that he had me was, what was it? I won a math debate. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I had to say it like Yoda. And at first I'm like, Yoda wouldn't talk this way. He would say, run a math debate I did. And Idalee's like, no, you gotta say it exactly the way that David spelled it out. So I did, and like 10 minutes later, because I'm old and don't realize what I had said, it sounded like I had said something else inappropriate for a family-friendly channel. So that's the joke. Apparently it's all the rage. It's so funny. She still giggles over it.
I do. It wasn't just that. It's the fact that your reaction was so priceless. You kind of stopped, like as soon as you heard me laughing, you stopped and you looked to the side and you're like trying to think what was going on. And slowly you were coming to the realization like, oh crap, I should not have said that.
Spanish sentence of the week.
That's too funny.
Okay, Spanish sentence of the week. Lovely. What would I do without you people?
Yep.
Other community stuff. New releases. Marvel's Avengers. It's an action-adventure RPG that I have not played. It's $60. NBA 2K21. $60. It's a basketball game. I don't know what else to say about that. It has mostly negative reviews on Steam, so buyer beware. People are complaining it's basically a copy and paste from the prior year. I don't know, but just something to think about. Crusader Kings 3, $50. It's a strategy RPG simulator. Again, I have not played it. Iron Harvest, $50. It's an RTS. I have played the demo of Iron Harvest. It's like Company of Heroes, but with mechs. It sounded cool, but I was kind of unimpressed with the demo because the number of units available seemed less than what you would get in Company of Heroes. So, I don't know, I wasn't too happy with the demo. But then again, demos are demos, they're not representative of the final product, so I don't want to judge the game harshly. I'm just saying I didn't like the demo based on what I played. It's very similar to Company of Heroes 2. Very, very similar. But hey, maybe if I get a press copy and play it at length, maybe I'll change my mind. As far as sales go, Steam sales, Battlefront 2, 70% off, $12. Death Stranding, 25% off, $45. Dragon Age Inquisition, 70% off, $12. Sims 4, 75% off, that's $10 now.
Oh, nice.
Keep in mind, though, The Sims 4, just because the core game is 75% off, you're still spending $700 on all of the DLCs that are out there. So it's not really a deal, in my opinion. If EA wants to impress me with a deal, include every single DLC, make it like, I don't know, maybe $100 or $75, something like that. Every single thing, everything. The core game and every DLC, $70, $80. That's a lot of content. That's what would impress me. But hey, you do you. Mass Effect Andromeda Deluxe Edition, 60% off. It's $12. Green Man Gaming. I do have a affiliate link to Green Man Gaming in the below description. So if you click on that and buy something, I'll get a small cut. Age of Wonders Planetfall. I believe it's some sort of special edition, premium edition. It's 57% off, $38.25. Stellaris Megacorp expansion, 57% off, which is $8.50. City Skylines Industries, which is an expansion to City Skylines, 58% off, $6.37. I recommend that DLC, it's pretty good. Warhammer Vermintide 2, 80% off, $6. Mass Effect Trilogy, 62% off, $11.40. A lot of playtime just in Mass Effect 2 and 3, so Mass Effect 1 was a terrible port, in my opinion, but 2 and 3 was pretty good. Surviving Mars, I streamed that last night. 71% off, $8.67. Cities in Motion 2, 79% off, $4.25. Humble Bundle, again, I've got an affiliate link in the below description. Balance City, there's a bunch of indie games that are either free or like 90% off or more. So go check out Humble Bundle. I only pulled a couple. Balance City, 94% off, 47 cents. Valhalla Hills, I think it is. Yeah, 92% off, $2.54. Simple Rockets, 92% off, 67 cents. Political Animals, 92% off, $1.27. Political Animals, I typically don't play political games, but this one was actually pretty good. I like that particular political game. But yeah, so you can get that for $1.27. Murdered Soul Suspect, I wrote that down because Ida Lee likes that game and has played it.
I love that game. It's
91% off,
Wow.
$1.84. You think it's worth $1.84?
Absolutely. It's worth more than that, but it's a great game. It's a very it's a linear storyline game, but it's
Puzzly.
a detective. It's a little puzzly. It's a detective-based game. You can go into people's like bodies as a ghost and try to figure out who committed what murders and all that stuff. It's pretty fun.
Okay. Great. So that was all of my sales. Again, Humble Bundle's a ton of games on sale for like 90% off plus, so go check that out. Community segment, Patreon and Twitch subscribers, just real quick. For the month of September, Ratsy's pledged $100 for a lifetime of 2,690. Brian, $50 for a lifetime of 200. Scotty R pledged $30 for a lifetime of 720. Greg Howe pledged $10 for a lifetime of 382. Mindalot pledged $5 for a lifetime of 60, and Rip Alpha pledged $1 for a lifetime of 41. So thank you all of my Patreon subscribers. It means a lot to me. If you're not a Patreon member yet and you want a chance at some free Steam keys, now's the time to jump into that. Twitch subscribers, just real quick. White Knight has been subscribing for 29 months, Mistama 12 months, and Bessa702 27 months. Nev Plays has a 1-month subscription thanks to ZZ. ZZ gifted a free subscription, so that's awesome. Thank you, ZZ. So yeah, thank you all. I appreciate all your support. And then we're going to skip our animal talk this week because the Final Fantasy top 5 went a little long, and I only have the one picture. So we'll do the animal stuff next week. But if you want to contribute, DGA podcast at yahoo.com. Send me some pictures. Lastly, Community Night is still going to be Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. EST. So this Friday upcoming, I think that's September 11th, 7 p.m. EST. I don't know what game we're playing. Probably Words with Friends, or no, was it Words on Stream? Yeah, I get the two confused. It's not Scrabble, it's Words on Stream, or Gartic on Stream possibly, but that's subject to change. Mm-hmm. All right, so that is our podcast, DGA Podcast, Episode 6. Thank you so much for stopping by, and again, special thanks to White Knight / Dave for all of his Final Fantasy knowledge. This is Vince and Ida Lee. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take care.
Bye, guys.